results. But, so we're a little bit, because I'm very nervous. But I know a lot. So,
And there's a lot of people can't hear you
Can't hear
back
me?
there.
If you'd like to scoot up a little
Yeah,
bit.
you're not coming
Okay.
a little closer.
Yeah, a little closer. Yeah, there we go.
Speak like the minister does, so that. Yeah.
Go ahead.
okay. Well, I started, probably like a lot of you did, just doing genealogy, and I started in 1988. Going to the Oklahoma Historical Museum or History Museum in Oklahoma City, and looking through microfilm and newspapers and the card catalog and printing out my census records and everything. So I did that until about 2018, and I took a DNA test with Ancestry. How many of y'all have taken a DNA test? A lot of you. Okay, have you discovered any things you didn't? Skeletons. They say that dead men don't talk, but they really do. So, and a lot of people get unexpected results from those. So, if you don't want to know any unexpected results, don't take a DNA test, they say. So, I did that, and I saw all my matches came back. I did it with Ancestry, and my highest match was my aunt, which I didn't even know she had taken a test, and her son, my cousin. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Had taken a test, and I was like, oh, look at all these people. I had done my tree in Ancestry, and you can connect your matches in your tree, and it's a little DNA symbol on there, and I thought, this is great. So, but then I came upon people I didn't know. And I said, well, who is this? So, so I started researching, and I was just fascinated with it. And figuring out where these matches fit in my tree, and discovering parts of the tree I hadn't developed yet, and found new cousins, and communicated with them through Ancestry. And the way they predicted how you should relate to your DNA match, sometimes it was right and sometimes it wasn't. So I started digging around and put a lot of my matches in. So I thought, well, about that time, there was the Golden State Killer was identified using genetic genealogy. And I said, boy, I can do this. I can put my love for genealogy and DNA, and maybe I can help find people too. So I reached out to searchangels.org, and they're a completely volunteer organization that helps people for free find their biological parents using DNA. So I got accepted, and I got my first case, and I connected with my client, and it took a while, and I was so nervous. I'm like, why isn't she gonna call me back? I wanna get started. And finally she did, and she didn't know, she was adopted, didn't know either of her parents, her biological parents. But she had found her mother with her DNA results, but she couldn't figure out who her father was. So she sent me shared her DNA results with me, and I started working on it. So I took all of her matches in Ancestry, and I also had her upload her results too. And there's different websites that you can upload to, and I can show them to you later. If you tested Ancestry or any of the places, you can download the raw file and upload it to myheritage.com for free, which has a lot of European members. So you'll match with a lot of people that are around the world. They have a lot of Jewish members. And then there's FT DNA, which is family tree DNA. You can upload there for free, and and you can also upload to GenMatch. And GenMatch and FTDNA are the only databases that are approved for law enforcement searching. And you have to opt in to GenMatch if you want law enforcement to be able to see matches with you. Or you can opt out. Well, its default is opt out. So if you want to opt in, you have to select that. But it's opted in for unidentified remains. So you don't have to pick that. It's just for like a perpetrator. So if they want to identify you against unknown remains, that's automatic. FTDNA is automatically opted in. So if you want to not be matching with law enforcement, you have to opt out. And then MyHeritage does not allow searching. Ancestry does not allow law enforcement searching, and neither does 23andMe. In fact, 23andMe and Ancestry do not allow uploads from any other company. So if you want results with them, you have to take their test. I wrote this down. Let's see. Ancestry has the most DNA matches in their database. They have, as of August, they had 23 million testers that you can match up against. So that's the best place to start. 23andMe has 14 million. MyHeritage has 7.2 million. FTDNA is 1.5 million, and Living DNA, which is one of the older or newer ones, but not very much used, has 300,000. So we say we like to fish in all the ponds in the genetic genealogy world, so we try to get all of our results in as many ponds as we can, because if you've only tested in one place, we might not match against you if you didn't test where we tested. So, so I worked on my client, and she had some good matches, and I started building her tree. I took the first highest match and I built out their tree, and then I took her second match and built out their tree, and I continued doing this until I saw a pattern and could find all of their most recent common ancestors. And once I found the matches going back, then I started building the tree down. And that's what is unique to genetic genealogy, is that, which is a little different than the genealogy, you just look at ancestors. But for us, we build down because we're trying to find the closer relative to the person that we're searching for. So it took me about 6 weeks, and I identified her father, and we go through Facebook pages and hunt for people, and they'll say, if you have a suspicion that it's that person, and then they'll say, oh, I went to my son's birthday party. I'm like, there's their son, here's their name. So then you start searching for that person online and in different databases like Spokio or Been Verified or that kind of thing, and get them in the tree. And then if you look for their Facebook page or Instagram page, and then they say, oh, here's my granddaughter's birthday party, or my son had a baby today, and here's their name. And you gradually work down, and then you start saying, well, is this person in the right place at the right time? Because she knew, obviously when she was born, the month, she didn't know the date, but, and she had spoken with her biological mother. So, and it was a little bit harder because it turns out her father was of Mexican descent, and they have a lot of intermarriage in their ancestry. So sometimes they don't have as good of records in the U.S., and also they have a lot of intermarriage, so it skews the amount of DNA because they intermarry. So it'll be inflated a little bit. So it'll say, well, this is their first cousin, but it's really not because they have a lot of extra DNA because they've intermarried. So after I did her, it was so rewarding because here I was doing all the genealogy things that I loved, and it was just the icing on the cake to help this woman. It changed her life, you know. In fact, she wrote to me today, and because I told her I mean, I've made lifelong friends with these people, and told her I was coming here, and she's like, oh, you got this, and you helped me so much. And she said that she hadn't met her biological father until a couple of months ago. And I did that for her about 4 years ago. They had just talked on the phone. So she said it was the best thing that ever happened to her. And just to be a part of that, you know, it's priceless. So, so I continued to do that, take on more cases. And then I took a Jewish case, and I didn't know it was a Jewish case. But it is very hard because they just immigrated, you know, in the early 19th century. And I had a lot of matches that were overseas, and I had matches where they changed their names. They came over here and they changed their name to something else, and I couldn't match them up, and I said, who is this person? And they Americanized their names so they wouldn't sound, you know, like an immigrant. So I worked on that, and I had two sisters that had taken ancestry tests, and they were in their 70s, and they discovered each other as half-siblings when they took their test. And so one of them had figured out who her father was, but her half-sibling didn't know who either one was. So first I figured out who their mother was, and then I did the biological father for the other sister. And I just learned so much learning about Jewish history, helping them figure out who they were from. And so I wrote a report. If I get to that, I'll read it to you. So after I did that, I want to go and help law enforcement, and I want to identify perpetrators and unknown remains and stuff. So after I did Search Angels, I did a lot of cases for them for a couple of years. And then Redgrave Forensic Genealogy had an internship, and they posted it on Facebook. And so I applied, and they accepted me. So I got to be on a team of other interns, and they were hired, well, they used to work for the DNA Doe Project. I don't know if any of you have heard of the DNA Doe Project, but they are also a nonprofit that identifies unknown remains. And they had left that organization and started their own company. So here I am with this whole team of interns, and my first case was a toddler that had been thrown off I-10 in Biloxi, near Biloxi. And she was estimated to be about 18 months old. And she was named in the community as Delta Dawn, is what they named her, and they had her in the cemetery, and she had a marker and everything. No one knew who she was, said only known to God. And our team worked on her. We got matches. They have to send, let me tell you a little about the DNA. Write this down when it gets into law enforcement. So you've heard of CODIS, and that's when people who are charged with felonies or convicted of felonies, they take their DNA and keep it, and they submit it into CODIS. And CODIS, let me get this right, is a combined DNA index system. And it is relies on STR testing, which is short tandem repeats. And they test about 13 markers on your chromosomes. But that's not enough to do what we need to do. We need more. So if they don't get a hit in CODIS, then they can send it off for testing for SNP testing. And SNP testing is, single nucleotide polymorphisms. And they test almost 700,000 markers on your DNA. So there's only, there's only about a handful of labs in the country that do this testing. And there's Astrea, Bodie, DNA Labs, DNA Solutions is in Oklahoma City, Gene by Gene, and Authormar in Texas, and then there's Parabon in Virginia, that's where C.C. Moore works. And Intermountain Forensics, which is a lab in Utah, a nonprofit lab who I'm volunteering with on that was awarded the project, the bid for the Tulsa Race Massacre Identification Project. So I'm working with them. So they did this SNP profile for Delta Dawn, and we got a profile back, and we uploaded it to GenMatch. And our team just started, saying, I'm taking this match, and I'm taking this match, and we worked as a team, and we worked late into the night on Zoom meetings and worked together, and we finally identified her and had a name, and we gave it to the law enforcement. And what was interesting is that her mother had a daughter, obviously, and they were from Missouri, and the family says that the mother and the daughter, the mother had a new boyfriend, and she and her daughter went with this boyfriend and said they were going to move to Florida. And they moved away, and they never heard from him again. And about 2 weeks after they left, the guy that she left with came back and said that they broke up, and he just left her in Florida. And so the family thought, she just doesn't want to see us or whatever. And so when law enforcement came knocking on the door and said, we've identified your granddaughter, they had no idea. So the mother has never been found. We assume that this man probably killed both of them. And he has since deceased. So, but it's amazing, and then the family wanted to leave her where she was because the community had taken care of her. So they left her in Mississippi. But the families are always so appreciative to know what happened to their loved ones, so that was my first unknown remains case. Then we did one in Kentucky, and all law enforcement had was her head. And it was left in a park, and no torso, and nothing was ever found besides her head. And it was from 1983. So they did a profile on her and sent it in, and we had a big gathering of, the results are ready, because you upload it to GenMatch and then you have to wait for it to batch. And results are in, we're all looking to see how high the first match is, because if it's a really close match, you don't have to do much work. If it's a father or mother or a first cousin, that's easy to figure out. So, so we started working on her, and we finally identified her. And this was what was rewarding about this case was when we first identify her, you want to verify that they're missing. You don't want to find any proof of life after the time they went missing, because then you don't have the right person. So when we were doing the research and figured out who the DNA led us to, and her husband, they lived in Tennessee, and he was in the military, and they had him and his wife had 2 children, and she was pregnant. And her husband said that on Christmas Eve, she went at 7:30 at night and walked 1 mile to the Winn-Dixie and never came home. And he reported her missing. And so a few months, they looked for her and never found her. So a few months afterwards, they got a tip at law enforcement saying that she was alive and well and living in Mississippi. So the law enforcement takes a trip down there and speaks to her in this trailer park and interviews her, and she says, yes, I'm her. I'm Susan, and I don't want anyone to come look for me. I'm here by choice. So law enforcement gave up. They said, she's where she wants to be, we're gonna quit looking for her, and they closed the case. Well, she wasn't in Mississippi. She was decapitated and left in that park. So all this time, and we were reading the Facebook pages of her family, and on her birthday, every birthday they would, especially her siblings, would do memorials to their sister. And the children, they talked about the children, and they were heartbroken because they thought their mother had left them on purpose. And they were traumatized their whole life because they didn't think their mother wanted them and left on purpose. So once they identified her, they went to the family and said, this is your mother, we found her in the park. And the family, especially the children, were overwhelmed because this meant that their mother didn't leave them like they had thought all these years, for 40 years. They thought, she just left them. And so that was, it was really heartwarming for our team because we were able to give some closure to the children. So I still think the father did it. But, I'm not in law enforcement. We just give them a tip and they check it out. So anyway, I did a few other ones. We did a perpetrator, but that was my couple of unknown remains, and we did a perpetrator in Ventura County, California, and this man is still alive. And he was a serial murderer, and he had murdered 2 girls in the 80s. And he wasn't in CODIS, he never committed another crime. He was a kung fu instructor, a karate instructor. And we told him who it was, and they followed him around. They got a search warrant and followed him around to get his discarded DNA. And they tested it, and yeah, it was him. And he was arrested, and he's awaiting trial. So, the siblings, or the family of the 2 girls who were murdered are very, very thankful. So it's just such a rewarding thing. But you can also use DNA to break down your brick walls if you're not, doing what I'm doing. And so, I've had a lot of people come to me and they say, well, I don't have any matches for my father. This is not what I expect. And so I can help them build the trees and figure out which of those matches they don't know, match other matches, and then build all of those trees. So I was going to show you online if anyone wants to see what it looks like, what a test result looks like online. Is anyone interested in that?
Yeah, we'd love to, please.
Okay. I'm just going to show you mine in Ancestry, and I have them in all the places, so let's see. I'm not very good with laptops.
Yeah, you're coming through loud and clear over here on the other side. Looking great.
Oops. Not very good at laptops. I'm old-fashioned with this new technology.
Now, this is the website Ancestry.com, and she's going to log in and show us what a test result looks like.
They'll also give you your ethnicity results, and those they update them, I don't know, about every quarter, twice a year. And sometimes they change because they compare your ethnicities against other test takers. So, my mouse. What is her name that sits over there that can help me?
Oh,
The
Misty?
tech girl.
Crispy?
No, it's Misty.
Oh, sorry.
I don't do that.
Okay, sorry.
I'm just trying to move this bar down the side because I use a mouse. I'm not good with this
Oh,
thingy.
yeah.
I just want to, yeah.
Just kind of-
yeah, just click on that.
Okay. Yeah, you'll just press down on the pad and then.
Okay. Because I have a
Yeah,
mouse that, yeah.
Don't feel bad. I'm the same. I am the same.
I prefer mice to the.
Okay, so here are my matches. I don't know if you can, how big it is over here. Okay, pretty good. Okay, so I tested my mother, and I brought my little mouse. I wonder if it works for her.
It will.
Show me where to click. I'll try to help. I use the laptop there.
Oh, I just don't scroll very well. Okay, so the top match is my mother.
Where should I click at?
We'll just move that. Yeah. Okay, so the first match is my mother, and we'll go back up. The very top.
Right
Okay,
there?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so she matches me at 3,456 centimorgans, and that's the highest you can be. That's a mother and a child relationship. So, because I tested my mother, it automatically knows, our ancestry knows, it can filter out my mother's side and my father's side, which I had already done. Then ME is my aunt. She's 1,604 centimorgans. Oh, and I'm gonna pass out these. I have a chart that tells you, there's a man in our field named Blaine Bettinger, and
We'll pass those out for you.
he did the centimorgan project, and I got one more for you. He did a survey and asked everybody who had figured out who their DNA matches were. Yeah, I can do that one. And I hope I have enough. If not, I'll.
We can make more here.
Okay. And so he asked everybody to take his survey and said, you've identified your match, and how many centimorgans did you match them with, which is the amount of DNA. And so he got like 50,000 responses. And with that, he made this chart so that if you have your results, you can look at that chart and figure out how you're supposed to match them. So sometimes ancestry is wrong. You might not get as much DNA from that ancestor, but you get 50% of DNA from your mother, 50% from your father. You get 25% from each grandparent, and on a path, every generation you go back. So it's only good to go back about
Oh, that's okay.
You were back there.
Oh, wait.
She
So,
needs that.
Okay, so then this Thomas is my aunt's son, my cousin, so he's 720 centimeters. And the next one is my father's cousin, and it shows he's a first cousin once removed, and that's exactly what she is. So, because, okay. So these are my dad's first cousins, but they're once removed to me, so you can keep going down. And then these are on my mom's side, so you keep going down. And see the little green thing in the corner? Right here? I have identified that person in my tree. I have connected them. So in Ancestry, I can view it in the tree and see where she is. If you want to click on view in the tree, yeah, any one of those view in the tree. And it will take you to the tree. Oh no, it's over here.
oh, it's on her screen.
View in the tree. Yeah, any one of those. And so, no, don't open a new link. Yeah, there you go. So it will take it to the tree, and I have denoted her as a DNA match, and also you can connect it with Ancestry. It'll tell you that they're also a DNA match. So that's pretty cool in Ancestry, where you can just visualize it all for yourself. So, okay, and then, let's see, keep going down. See, you're like me, I can't scroll on this. Okay, so this Mark Schweer person, I don't know who that is yet. I still haven't identified, and so they're just sitting here waiting for me. But when I figure out who they are, I'll put a little note to myself. Third cousin, but her father is an NPE of Lloyd Lindsay, which is another cousin in my family. The NPE is a non-paternal event, so she was adopted and she didn't know, and so she popped up and contacted me. So this Elise person. So that was an unexpected result. So, but you can also use these to do the brick walls if you have a family line, and you can also you can do a match that you have in common. So yeah, just pick a view a match. So this is let's see, scroll down. Go back up. Let's see. Oh, shared matches. Okay, so when you have a match, you can pull them up, and right here it says shared matches. And then scroll up a little bit. And this will tell you who you and this person share matches with. All these other people will stop. And so I already know it's on my paternal side, so that narrows it down. I know which side to look for. So, and then you can contact these people through Ancestry. You can view the match, and then it'll say contact this person, and you can message them through Ancestry, and maybe together you can figure out who they are and how you match each other. So, and when I contact them, I offer to share my research with them if they will help me. So, okay, so let's go to a different website. So that's Ancestry.
Where are you gonna go?
And this over here. Okay, so. You can pick some of these out too. Yeah.
Thank you. Is everybody getting these handouts? Okay, so this is FTDNA, and just come down here to Family Finder Matches, and this tells me all of these matches. And my top match in here is a match to my father's cousin, and she's also uploaded her ancestry results, so she we match in here. But this is what they look like, and it also tells you the shared centimorgans, and you can look on that chart and figure out where they should be. Because sometimes it can be a first cousin, but it could also be something else, based on the amount. So, and then you can click on them. Just click on, oh no, I'm sorry, click on this one. Right there, the little people. Yeah, click on that, and you can click on in common with, and that will tell you all the people that you and that match share DNA with. So that helps narrow down. So
I found family tree DNA. It works real well for the men.
Yes.
The Y
The
DNA.
Y-DNA, yes. There's also, all of these test results are autosomal DNA, but there's also tests you can take for Y-DNA, and they offer those at FTDNA. And Y-DNA is only passed down on the paternal line, and men pass 100% of their DNA down to their children, to their sons, and they pass 100% down to their sons, and so forth. So it's really good to go back to your origins. The women have mtDNA, mitochondrial DNA, and they pass it down to both of their children, the males and the females, but it's only the females that pass it on. The males don't pass that on. So you can take those tests on here too, at FTDNA. I'm going to show you GenMatch. Okay, GenMatch now has two portals, because if it's a law enforcement kit, you have to log in differently, and the rest of the public don't see those matches, and you have to pay. They charge a law enforcement $750 to upload the kit. So when we're doing unidentified remains, you're doing unidentified remains, this is usually all we have, because law enforcement don't have a lot of funding. And this database is entirely voluntary for other people.
Is that how you're identifying some of the Tulsa victims?
Yes. Yeah, this is how we are doing the Tulsa victims. I'll just show you this one and then I'll talk about them. Pass this. Close it. I apologize.
On the last handout, we'll have copies a little later. Copy machine is not wanting it to be cooperative. One extra. Pass it down, I think, got it down here. Y'all get one?
My daughter does.
I'm just trying to
Yeah, you go
scroll.
to Julie.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so here is my kit.
Long time. Long time.
I missed my mouse. GenMatch is not very pretty, but it gives you what you need. So, with GenMatch, you don't normally get a name. Sometimes they'll put the name, sometimes it's like jawbone, and you're like, who's jawbone? So you go over here and you click on this has the email address, and then we hunt online, trying to figure out who this email address belongs to try and identify who the kit belongs to. And sometimes they're nice. Are y'all familiar with GEDCOMs?
Mm-hmm.
With the GEDCOMs? Well, and for those who don't know, the GEDCOM is you can download your family tree from Ancestry or any sites that have your family tree on, even the Family Tree Maker, or one of the softwares. And you can upload it, you download it as a GEDCOM file, and you can upload it in here, and it shows up as a GEDCOM file. So this person, not only did they upload their DNA, well, this was me, my mom, I put my mom on here, and you can click on it. We love it when they put them on here because you can go here and it will show you this matches pedigree. Like that. So this is a big help, because now I can tell who the home person is, who their parents are, and whatnot. So, yeah, if you upload there, put your GEDCOM on for us. So, okay. And they have a lot of free tools, like you can do your kit against one-to-many, which is everybody, or you can do one-to-one, compare your kit with one other person. You can do who you match with just one kid or two kits. You can do, are your parents related? So you can put your kid in there and it'll tell you if your parents are related or not, which is kind of fun. So, but yeah, so that's GEDmatch, and this is what we work with in almost all of our adoptions. Well, not really adoptions, because they can go anywhere, but unidentified remains and perpetrators. So sometimes our highest match I've ever figured out was 36 centimorgan, and that is like a fifth cousin. So, okay, so let me tell you a little bit about the Tulsa project. When they first started talking about excavating up in Tulsa at Oakland Cemetery, and I followed the news and was watching that, and I thought, man, if they ever start identifying those people, I want to help, because it was the first thing in Oklahoma I had done. So I haven't done anything in Oklahoma. And I called the OSBI and I said, you guys, we need volunteer to help you. Oh no, we can't let you do that. They have one lab tech that they are training in genealogy, and she is doing everything. And I keep on them, so I guess that's how they got my name. So I email them all the time, like, are you ready to hire me? So I work for the state anyway, so I mean, it's an easy transition, but not yet. So I reached out to Intermountain Forensics, who was awarded the bid to identify the remains that were excavated at Oakland. And I told them that I lived in Oklahoma, and if they were accepting volunteers, I wanted to help. And responded right away, and they were very excited because they didn't have any Oklahoma volunteers. And so we started out on that project going through newspapers and historical articles by the Red Cross, things in the Tulsa newspaper about victims that they knew died in the massacre. And we started building trees for all of those people. So hoping that when we did our first excavation, we might have them done already. But unfortunately, it never works out like that way. So they exhumed, I think they sent in 9 exhumations. And the remains, they're over 100 years old, and they're very degraded. And when they brought them up, it's just almost dust. And so we got 6 profiles, and there's a whole team that wanted to volunteer to identify remains on this project. So we're working with DNA Doe Project, we're working with C.C. Moore's group at Paragon, and each group took an exhumation, and that team is working on it. So Cold Case Coalition is who owns the Intermountain Forensics Lab. And so I'm on that team, and they have taken the remains, they're enriching them, and they add some chemical to it, and they keep adding and adding and adding and making more of it so that they can get it through the profile and get enough to get us a DNA profile. So, and then since then they've done 2 more exhumations and have exhumed more bodies and have sent them to the lab, but they just take a long time for profile. So the team that I'm on, we have burial number 3. We don't know who they are. We have a good idea now, but because it's so old, the closest match we have was a second cousin, and so almost everybody above that is deceased. And we reached out to a lot of the families, you know, building trees down to find the living relatives and reaching out to them, but not a lot of people wanted to help us because they're afraid in the African American community about getting in law enforcement databases, and they don't want to test. So that has impeded our project, but the match that the highest match we had, we reached out to him, he didn't respond, and so we just kept at it, and finally they responded, and it was his wife, and she said, well, her mother-in-law had taken a test, and she was the only one left. She was born in 1933, and she had already taken her test, so she uploaded it to GenMatch for us, and she is a first cousin once removed. And they are from Coweta County, Georgia, and so we've been searching, trying to figure out how they might have got to Oklahoma, and we're thinking it was the oil boom, and but we're not certain. And so the ancestor that we tied him to had 13 children, and so we haven't narrowed down to 2 candidates, but we don't know which one. So we're trying to get more relatives to target test for us so that we can, you know, match the DNA to that person. And so we're still working on that. But we're gonna get them identified. So it's gonna be nice, not only for the city of Tulsa, but for the community in the Greenwood district. So,
Okay,
do
well,
you have any questions?
we
have lots
have
of questions.
right here at the front, you'll be next.
Okay.
Do you have a question? Go ahead.
Yes. Back in the day, I had always heard that siblings, full siblings,
Yes.
were actually more akin to each other than either parent, either mother that carried the child. Is that true in DNA? I mean, this was back before I heard of DNA and stuff. Is that true in DNA? Because of
More
the
akin to who?
your sibling, your full sibling.
I think what she's asking is there a greater DNA match between siblings versus parents?
No.
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 Okay.
The highest match is between a parent and a child.
Okay.
And then next down which is like the 3,400 centimorgan level. And then full siblings is about 2,400 or so. It's usually sometimes about half. And then half siblings are a little bit less than that, and then you get to the first cousin, and usually each generation is an average of about half of the one above it. So, but no.
Question behind you there.
You mentioned a couple times where they've advertised for volunteers to work with the genealogist.
Uh-huh.
Where
Where?
are they doing this
On
advertising?
Facebook.
What group?
There are a lot of Facebook groups.
I'm on about 8 of them.
Okay, and you're probably on the same ones I'm on.
And the reason I'm saying is I haven't seen something like that for Tulsa or whatever. That's why I was very curious.
Well, they didn't advertise for Tulsa.
They
I
have
reached
not
out to them. So you can also reach out to the Cold Case Coalition. Tell them you live in Oklahoma and that you'd like to volunteer. So everything that I do is all volunteer. We don't get paid to do any of this work. So,
Thank you.
All right, we've got one question back here. Sir, yes. Speak up loudly so we can hear you.
Okay, I have no problem, I'm a minister, so.
Go for it.
Good brother.
You said you are still doing testing for distant relatives that was in the Tulsa massacre back in 21?
we are.
Okay, could I talk to you after
Of
all this
course.
is done? Because I
Of
know that
course.
I had
You have some
distant
relatives in
relatives
Tulsa?
back then. My grandfather was in Oklahoma at the time, but his grandfather, well, his father was in Tulsa.
Okay,
So,
okay.
and I am researching my family tree right now, so I'm trying
If you
to.
think that you have someone that perished
Yes, I do
in,
believe I do.
in the race massacre, we are providing free testing for those people.
Okay,
So I'll get with you.
okay.
All right, I've got one more question, then we're gonna do, yes, go ahead.
Oh, it's not really a question for so much as, I am adopted myself,
That's what
and,
your mom told me.
a search angel is the one who verified both of my, biological parents, and so that's another organization I think is totally worth volunteering for, because it, like she said, about her case, totally changes lives, and
And that's where you hone your skill.
it's over, yeah, it's amazing, and in the process, you learn a whole lot about DNA too. So,
That's right.
but yeah,
That's how I learned it too.
I just want,
I
on
did a
behalf
lot
of,
of adoption
you know,
cases.
just my case alone, but I know you didn't work on mine, but I just wanted to thank the search angels, because that's just, it is amazing.
Mhm.
It truly
And
is.
we love it.
Yeah,
And with
good.
that, we, got a thank you card from the board here for you. Thank you so much. And let's give our speaker a,